Hello, this is Angelia with today's wisdom. Today's wisdom comes from Daily Om. Bitterness, lifting pain's veil. It is natural to feel resentment or anger when life does not unfold as expected. And we all feel that way, but the facts are, life is not going to go as expected. That would be amazing if life was perfect and everything was going to go exactly as you expected it to. But the facts are, it's not gonna. We consciously or unconsciously anticipated one experience. You had it in your mind as to what you thought was going to happen. And we grieve for the loss of it when the universe puts something else in our path. And I think we've all had that. We've all had letdowns, disappointments, whether it be a circumstance or a person. That's just life. Most of the time, we work through these feelings and they pass. And that's if you're, willing to do that. And you're, a person who can think about things and realize, well, I didn't really have control of the outcome, did I? What's going to happen happens. Occasionally, our anger and resentment do not fade and are instead transformed into bitterness. And I'm sure we've all met bitter people who are just miserable, and like to make you miserable, like the old saying, "Marriage loves company." So it's not good, because when you're a bitter person, it's like people can emotionally taste that. It's like, why do we want to drink something bitter? We don't. We'd rather have something sweet, So, back to the old saying about you draw more flies with honey than with vinegar. Bitter feelings allow us to become perfect victims in that we no longer feel obliged to work toward healing and choose instead to identify with our pain. I'm sure we all have met people like that they are a perpetual victim. Everything in their life, is horrible. And I had a life coaching client that was in this mindset and she had a hard time getting out. It's like, she was behaving a certain way, but yet somehow it was always everyone else's fault. It was never her fault. It was always everybody else around her's fault. And I tried to shed a little light on that for her. It's like, well, I was told you did this, that, or the other thing. Don't you think that maybe influenced the way they reacted to you? No, oh my God, you've upset me so much. It's like, get real. You are responsible for your own behavior. You are responsible for your own thoughts and feelings. And if you allow yourself to wallow in your bitterness, that's where you're going to stay. You got to get up, shake it off, dust yourself off, move on, get on with your life. Because life is sure going to go on without you, whether you go on with it or not. It's just the facts there. Yet, as unwholesome as bitterness can be, it is also a natural element of our emotional palette, because it is. We're not happy when stuff doesn't go our way, and we all experience bitterness. But if you're living healthy in a mentally and emotional way, then you can move past that. You can, get over it eventually. Now, it's never that easy, and I hate when people say, get over it, because that's just rude as shit. That's uncompassionate and unsympathetic towards others. But eventually, if we work towards it, we can become, a better balanced person and be in a better place. When we acknowledge that it is okay to feel bitter, we reconnect with our hurt in a constructive way and begin the process of working through it. And that's the key there. Any emotion, work through it. Negative emotions are there for a reason. They were a survival, adaptation at some point or another. But as we know, they're not always helpful to our lives. So we need to work through them, purge them, and keep moving. The nature of bitterness is rooted in the fact that the pain we feel provides us with a rationale. Because, you know, we might not want to look at our own stuff. We want to look at other stuff. And like I said, if believing everyone else around you is a problem, is a rationale, you know, and it might not be the case. So sometimes by being a bitter person, it's easier to point fingers at other people, rather than look at your own stuff. Because some people do their best to not have to look at their stuff. And then that means they're never going to process their stuff, and they're always going to be stuck in their stuff. And that's a shame. We may feel that we deserve to embrace our bitterness to its full extent. And really, honestly, there's nothing wrong with that if it's a short-term thing. If you do it for an hour, do it for a day, take a day off and just mirror. But if it's a continuous thing that you're doing for weeks, months, years, decades of your life, then that's a problem. And to be bitter is, in essence, to cut ourselves off from all that is positive, because bitterness is not positive, is it? It's pretty negative. Hardening our hearts and vowing never to let go of our hurt. And when you do that, you're honestly only hurting yourself, because you're not allowing yourself to heal and move on from the experience that made you bitter. And you're only hurting yourself. And it's like I say, you know, about my stories and about my life. It's like, I'm not letting the bad guys win. The bad guys don't get to win in my story. So, you know, no matter what happens, you know, I'm the winner. But if I let them keep me down here and stay bitter about it, then they won. But just as bitter feelings can be self-defeating, so too can the release of bitterness be life-affirming in a way that few other emotional experiences are, because it's a burden. When you're carrying that bitterness around with you, that's a burden. It's putting stress on your health, your mindset, your emotions. When you can let that go, you free yourself up. That is a release. That is a big relief on you to let that burden go. When we decide that we no longer want to be bitter, we are reborn into a world filled with delight and fulfillment, unlike any we knew while in the clutches of bitterness. Because you can't see the good things in life when you're bitter. You know? It's like I say all the time, it's the little things, you know, because little things can make me happy. You know, like a bird singing outside the window, that makes me happy. Because I've learned that even though a lot of bad crap can be in your life, you can still find moments of joy. And you can make moments of joy. And that's the important thing. You need to do things for yourself. You need to nourish yourself spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, so that you can be in a good place. And that is your choice. The veil it casts over us in our lives is lifted, letting light and warmth touch our souls. Because when you are down in the bitterness, it is like a little black cloud is over you all the time. And you have the power to blow that little black cloud away, you know, and let the sun shine on you and let there be goodness in your life. Divesting yourself of bitter feelings can be as simple as truly forgiving and moving on. And now there were a lot of people who hurt me in my past. And I realized that by holding on to that, I was only hurting myself. So I forgave everyone. And when I realized I might have done some wrong to this, that, or the other person, I did reparations and said, hey, you know, I might have done this when we were younger. And it might have made you feel this way, you know, and if so, I am sorry for that, you know, and I did that with as many people as I could, and came back out. And that's something you can do too. You need to let that go. And when you forgive people, it's not for them, it's for yourself, so you can heal and move on with your life. Even when your bitterness has no concrete object, You can forgive situations too. And you can do that. You can forgive, something random happened. You can forgive, fate or karma or, even God sometimes, because I've been mad at God sometimes for something that happened, and it releases that burden off of you so that you can heal and move on. Healing pain can be challenging, but may be easier if you remind yourself that you are the only entity truly affected by your emotional state. And that's something that they teach, in Buddhism. Your emotions are only affecting you. You will shoot them at other people and yell and talk to other people, but they don't have to care. And that's what, when people confront abusers later on. I had a woman I was coaching, and she wanted to do that. And I said, okay, here's the thing, though, to remember. They don't have to give you an explanation. They don't have to give you an apology. Are you okay with that? If you confront them and you don't get any explanation and you don't get any apology, can you be okay with that? Because they don't have to do that for you. And she decided she was okay with that. That she just wanted to ask. And, the outcome wasn't what she wanted it to be. But she went ahead and did her inner work and, came out the other side of it. And that's the important thing. In time, you will discover that letting go of your bitterness frees you to initiate the healing process and allows you to once again celebrate the possibility of the more wonderful life you deserve. And now I hear people all the time complaining about their life and everything in it. And it's like, you are in charge of your life. You might not like this policy at work. You might not like these hours at work. Well, if you can change a job, do it. If you can't, adjust your thinking, and sometimes stuff doesn't go our way. Facts of life, it's never going to go your way every single time you want things to go your way. Just not going to happen, there's too many people, there's too much going on. It's just, not going to happen. So when you realize you are pretty much in charge of your life, you can take your power back from the powers that be, and you live the life you want. And if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way to do it. I knew a woman, she wanted a place for people to come, and she worked 2 jobs and, did things and made it happen. When I wanted to, have my own ministry and office and run a charity and things like, I did the work to make it happen. Now it might not have worked out how I wanted it to, and I might have had some bitter feelings about that, but, I can get well and move on to another thing. And that's what you should do. You need to let that bitterness go, lift the veil off your pain, blow that little black cloud away, and step into the next, part of your life. Think about it. That's all for now.